Okay, good morning everybody. Here we go, into the final review. Today is day one, so I'm going to record this. Hopefully you guys will write this down in your notes and have good notes for the final. So here we go. Number one, find the zeros. Well, set it equal to 0 then. Okay, 2x squared minus 11x plus 5. It will factor, so I'm going to factor it into 2x minus 5 and a 2x minus 1. I can check my outside. There's negative 10. Oops, that's supposed to be a 1x. Negative 2. Oh, so I got it backwards. Put the 5 here and the 1 here. Now, negative 10, negative 1 makes it negative 11. Perfect. Many equations. I have 0 equals 2x minus 1. 0 equals a 1x minus 5. So if I solve, I go plus 1 divided by 2. One answer is x equals 1/2. There's 1 0. Plus 5, the other 0 is x equals 5. Okay, those are my two zeros in this case. All right, good. Okay, number 3, I'm going to have 3 zeros, I'm sure of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is set it equal to 0, and I'm going to common factor. Okay, so I'll take out an x. They all have an x in common. I have an x squared minus a 2x minus 8. That trinomial will factor again into an x minus 4x plus 2. From my mini equations, we'll have x equals 0. If I solve for x here, I'd have a positive 4. If I solve for here x, I'd have a subtract 2. So those 3 are my zeros. Got it. 0, 0, 0. Okay. Let's look at number 3. Okay. So set equal to 0. And the first thing I'll do is probably factor out a 4x, because I have at least a common multiple of 4 and an x in common. So then I'll have a 4 minus an x. Okay, well, okay, then that's pretty easy. Many equations, I'll have 4x equals 0, so x equals 0. And then on this one, I will have plus x, I'll have x equals 4. So those are my two mini equations, my two zeros. Okay, 4. Let's see, I'm going to have 4 answers. Let's see, set it equal to 0. And then I'm going to factor. I'm going to factor it into an x squared. I'm going to go minus 4, positive 1. If I set them both equal to 0, x squared minus 4 equals 0, and x squared plus 1 equals 0. When I go ahead and add 4 here, and then I'll square root this one, that's no problem. Square root of 4 is 2, but I have to have 2 answers, so it's plus or minus 2. However, on this one, I'm going to have an I. I'm sure of it, because I go minus 1, minus 1. I'll have a negative 1 equals x squared. If I square root a negative number, I'm going to have an imaginary number. So I am going to have a 0, but it's going to be plus or minus 1i. I have to have the I because of the square root of the negative number, okay? Negative square root of a negative number, I'm going to have an I value, okay? All right, 5. Let's do this. I'm going to need graph paper, so I'll take out my graph paper. I'm going to graph this parabola. I'm going to put down my x, y axis. I do know I'm going to go all the way down to negative 15, so I'm going to have to make sure I put room for that. So before I do a whole lot, I do know the y-intercept is at negative 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Way down there is my y-intercept, okay, at 0, negative 15, okay? I'm going to have x-intercept, so if I get my zeros, if I go ahead and factor this, I'll have an x minus 5x plus 3, because that'll make the multiples of 15, and negative 2. So my zeros, which are also my x-intercepts, are at positive 5 and negative 3. Okay, so positive 5, negative 3. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now, the vertex, it's got to be right smack dab in the middle. So the vertex has to be right here. Let's go ahead and put that in. No, my vertex is on my line of symmetry. My vertex absolutely has to be right there in the middle at x equals 1. Okay, so then let's plug 1 in. Let's find out what the corresponding y value is. So I have a 1 squared minus a 2 times a 1 minus a 15. And I think I get a negative 16 on that. So my vertex then is here. Let me screw it up. It's going to be here. My vertex is at 1, negative 16. And then I can graph it. I can just go ahead and I got another one here, and there we have it. Okay, got it. My vertex, my intercepts, and I'm done. Okay, number 6. 6 is a little bit different because 6 is in vertex form, so I'm going to graph it differently. It's still going to be a parabola. Since it's in vertex form, I know the vertex is at the point -2, -9. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put that down. All right. -2, -9. All right. That's my vertex. This is number 6. Okay, here we go. -2, -9, -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There it is. And that's my vertex. My line of symmetry goes right through the middle of that. Now, to get the intercepts, let's see. First of all, to get the y-intercept, let x equals 0. So I'm going to go y equals 0 plus 2 squared minus 9. That's going to be a 4 minus 9, which is -5. So my y-intercept is at 0, -5. There's my y-intercept, 0, -5, which is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. So again, I should have a second point on this parabola. I know that the other point would be over here. Okay. Now, if I want my x-intercepts, we let y equal 0. So this is y-intercepts, y-intercept. My x-intercept, scoot this up so you can see it, is to let y equal 0. So I have 0 equals my x plus 2 squared minus 9. I'm going to solve, okay? Plus 9, add 9 to both sides, right? Plus 9, I guess I could show that. Plus 9, 9 equals x plus 2 squared. We take the square root of both sides, but I got to be careful because there's two answers. It's a plus or minus 3. So you have plus or minus 3. Square root of 9 is 3. Plus or minus equals x plus 2. Okay, now wait a minute. That means I'm going to have two answers. Well, it makes sense. I'm going to have two x-intercepts. So I'll have 3 equals x plus 2. And I'll have a -3 equals an x plus 2. Well, that's easy to solve for. -2 minus 2, x equals 1. -2 2, x equals -5. Okay, so those are my x-intercepts are at 1, 0, and at -5, 0. And I can graph those pretty easily. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1. And then there is my parabola. Awesome. Okay, that's number 6. Moving on, number 7. Okay, a rock is thrown into a height with an initial velocity of 36 feet. Per second from a height of 30 feet. So I gave you the equation. So first of all, let's rewrite the equation as h of t equals a -16t squared. That's just gravity. Plus 36t plus the height, which is 30. Okay, now I know that the graph looks something like this. It's going to go up and hit. So this top point is the vertex. And since it's in standard form, we're going to use that -b over 2a, okay? So to get that x value, which is the time, x is going to equal your -b over 2a, which is really time in this case. So t is equal to, let's see, a, b, c. So it's going to be a -36 over 2 times a -16. 36 divided by 18 must be 2 then, right? Right? 36 divided by 18 is 2. I know that. I didn't need a calculator. So at 2 seconds, so it's t equals 2. Now what's the height? Well, plug it in. So we know the maximum height's at 2 seconds. Plug it in. I'll have h of 2 is equal to my -16 times 2 squared plus 36 times 2 plus 30. I'm just going to use my calculator, so I'm going to go -16 times 2 squared plus 36 times 2 plus 30, and I get an answer of about 38. So the height is 38 feet. Okay, there we go. So what's the height? 38 feet. What's the time? 2 seconds. Okay, again, you can pause this if I get going too fast. That's no problem. I'm just going to get it done. Okay, on the back side, simplify the polynomial expression. Well, I'm just adding. That's easy. Like terms, right? Like terms. So these two are the same. I'm adding. So I'm going to get a 7x cubed. Okay, like terms. These are the same. 4x squared minus 2x squared is a positive 2x squared. Like terms, right? Negative 2x, positive 4x makes a positive 2x, and then like terms, minus 4 makes a negative 14. Okay, and that is your answer. You cannot combine terms that are not the same. So there it is. Boom. Okay, number 9. Well, to do number 9, I have to subtract. And for me, I always make mistakes. So I'm just going to bring through the negative. I'm going to rewrite this equation as a negative 3x and a positive 6y and a positive 1xy. Okay, so I just brought the negative through because that way I'm now going to add these terms. So I get a 3xy plus a 4x minus 3y. And I'm going to combine terms. So the xy's, I'm going to have a 4xy. I'm going to put the x together. I'll have a positive 1x. And the y's together, I'll have a positive 3y. So that is the answer. I cannot combine terms that are not the same. Finis. Okay, 10. Oh, it's just a big FOIL problem. I can do that. So here we go. I'm just going to multiply that times that, that times that, that times that. So 2x times 4x squared is an 8x cubed. 2x times 2x, but negative, is a negative 4x squared. 2x times 1 is a positive 2x. Okay, then, I need to multiply the 3 also through. So I'm going to get a positive 12x squared. I'll put it right there. I like to line them up. I'm going to get a negative 6x. I'll put it right there. I like to line them up. And then I'm going to get a positive 3. Okay, now, the reason I like to line them up is because adding like terms is really easy. 8x cubed is the only cubed term. I have a positive 8x squared, a negative 4x plus 3. Okay, there you have it, right? Boom. Now divide, and I'm going to use synthetic division. So I'll go through it again with you. I'm going to use the opposite of that number. So instead of negative 2, I'm going to go positive 2. I go upside down division. I go 1, 3, negative 12, 10. This is my adder line. This is my remainder. And here's what I do. First step, bring down all the way through, bring down the first term, bring it down, and then we multiply, right? We multiply. So we multiply. 1 times 2 is 2, and then we add. 3 plus 2 is 5, then we multiply. 2 times 5 is 10, then I add. Negative 12 and 10 is negative 2, then I multiply. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a negative 4, and then I add and I get 6. Now right off the bat I know it's not. It is not a factor because it did not go in evenly. So what's the answer though? But I know it's not a factor, but the answer is a 1x squared, 1 less power, plus a 5x minus a 2 with a remainder. So I go plus 6 over what I divided by, which was x minus 2. So there is my quotient, and it is not a factor because it has remainder, okay? Okay, number 12. Graph the cubic function if the zeros are x equals negative 2, 0, and 3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do a rough sketch, but I have a positive leading coefficient. That tells me something also. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. All right, so I'll have a 0 at negative 2, at 0, and 3. Now, because it has a positive leading coefficient, I know it has to finish going towards infinity, so it's going to go through, come back through, and there you have it, okay? That's what it should look like. Now, end behavior, okay? So as x approaches infinity, y is approaching infinity. As x is approaching negative infinity, y is also approaching negative infinity. Okay, that's all I have. We'll do 2 more days of this, and by the time I'm done on Thursday, you'll be ready for this. Okay, that's all I got.